The man couldn't believe as he stared at the blood hole in his chest. The one who shot him turned out to be Charlie, whom they had treated kindly as part of their own family.
Charlie.
Those were the last words Nick spoke, the pressure of the wound making him unable to speak any longer.
Hey, Nick, look at me. Look at me.
Come on.
Hey, look at me. It's gonna be okay. No, Nick. Look at me. It's gonna be fine.
The first image of Fear the Walking Dead is Nick, and now the character that's been with us all for so long is off the line. Alicia, having lost 2 close family members in a short span, had grown a towering tree of hatred in her heart. The once vibrant team from the cruise ship now only consisted of the 3 of them. They bid farewell to Nick in their own ways. Luciana, Nick's girlfriend, sorrowfully accompanied him on his final journey. Alicia, looking at the now zombified Ennis, concealed her grief and anger, displaying a face of cold composure and determination. Alicia vowed to make every member of the Vultures pay for what they had done. Victor draped Nick's body with his favorite jacket. He and Nick were the first to know each other. And now it's come to this. They sit face to face with Nick's body and Althea. Their previous deal still stands. Althea interviewed them about their story, then drove them to a special place to bury Nick. After hours of interviewing, Althea fell silent. Perhaps this was the best story she had collected, but she couldn't find joy in it. The car reached a desolate area, and John, getting out, wondered why this place was chosen. Without much explanation, Victor and Alicia began to shovel in unison. 10 minutes later, they uncovered something. Victor and Alicia lifted the cover, revealing an assortment of weapons and equipment, taken from the baseball stadium. Now, it was finally time to put them to use: rifles, shotguns, bulletproof vests, and even grenades. Morgan says Nick is dead and you shouldn't only have revenge. They had no intention of listening to Morgan. Your brother, your husband, your best friend dies. Do you shake hands with your enemy? Althea felt deceived. They weren't here to bury Nick. Victor told Althea that they had told her the story she wanted, and Nick would be buried here. In fact, they didn't need Althea to guide them anymore, as they found a map on the deceased Ennis. The Vultures team had split up to gather supplies and would converge at a specific location marked on the map. Now, all they had to do was wait at that location. As the journey was long, Althea offered to take them there herself, wanting to personally record how it would all end. In the end, Nick was buried there. Alicia was the first to turn away. It wasn't a time for sorrow now. Morgan also placed a small blue flower on Nick's grave. He knew he couldn't persuade them and chose to leave with John. Just as they're loading the weapons into the vehicles, John spots a familiar backpack, which he opens.
Naomi? Her name was Naomi? Where is she? Where'd she go?
The stadium. Naomi didn't make it out.
It turns out that John's reason for wandering around is to look for Naomi, and the pistol is their love token.
What happened?
They did this.
John was deeply saddened. He just wanted some quiet time alone. Morgan said, "Go away. He'll persuade John to let go of his hatred." The next day, John sat by the roadside, sharing the story of him and Naomi with Morgan. John said, perhaps Victor and the others were right. He should join them to seek revenge for Naomi. Morgan, however, stated, "We are part of this world. Everyone has the right to survive. Let go of the hatred in your heart." Next, they unexpectedly encountered a member of the Vultures in a small town. John found a map on the man, and his emotions began to spiral out of control. Just as John was about to shoot, Morgan stopped him.
Come on, man, let him go. Just let him go.
The 3 victors arrived at the Vultures' rendezvous point and waited. They were armed and ready to die. At this moment, Alicia, through binoculars, discovered that only one vehicle was approaching from a distance. Luciana and Victor also felt puzzled. The vehicle stopped upon reaching them, and to their surprise, Morgan and John stepped out. Morgan shouted loudly. Victor and his companions walked over, armed with weapons. They're ordered to get down on their knees. Morgan explained, "I'm here to help you save yourselves. The Vultures won't come anymore. I've informed them not to come here." In her anger, Alicia contemplated shooting Morgan. While Morgan was trying to persuade Alicia, Victor smirked cunningly.
Perhaps they didn't heed your warning after all.
From a distance, more than a dozen vehicles approached. They were all too familiar with these vehicles. Victor, Alicia, and Luciana paid no attention to Morgan, aiming their guns at the approaching vehicles. Leading the convoy was Melvin, Ennis's brother. Both sides stood in a tense standoff. Melvin first thanked Morgan for the warning, causing the atmosphere to plummet.
I'm sorry about your brother.
Really? I'm not sorry about yours.
Morgan quickly stepped in to mediate, but neither side was buying it, telling him to stay far away. Just then, a woman's voice came through Melvin's radio. A member of the Vultures coming to assemble here. Melvin smiled. Things were getting interesting. Alicia noticed a car approaching from behind, and to her surprise, it was the very car Madison had prepared for Alicia. Stepping out of the car was Naomi, and John instantly recognized his girlfriend. Naomi looks at John in disbelief. Alicia, however, had a suspicion. Naomi not only survived but was now with the Vultures. That shot went straight into John. A shootout was imminent. Morgan and Naomi quickly took John behind the car. Fortunately, the bullets only hit John's abdomen. Knowing there were antibiotics in the car, Naomi wanted to find medication, but Alicia kept a vigilant eye on her. Alicia was eager to kill the traitor, but Victor stopped her, urging her not to lose control. After all, they were on the same side, eliminating all of them.
Guys, behind the boss!
Told me we could take him! That was wrong. We gotta get out of here. Let's go!
Melvin abandoned his teammates and fled in a car. The medicine Naomi needed was taken away, and suddenly, the vehicle was blown into scrap metal.
I wasn't. It's not what you
We
think.
gave you a home, and you took it!
Now, they had to figure out how to find medication elsewhere. Naomi mentioned knowing a place, but Luciana had just dealt with one vulture and was ready to continue eliminating them when she noticed Charlie behind the car. Despite Charlie's innocent look, Luciana showed no mercy. In the end, in a fierce battle, the Vultures severely underestimated the combat capabilities of the trio. Althea documented everything. Morgan ran over to Althea, saying they needed her help. John was on the brink, and Naomi knew a place with antibiotics.
This story's almost finished. It doesn't have to be that way for John.
Althea stated she was just an observer outside the story. Just as Alicia found Naomi, Althea intervened.
Let's get inside.
Morgan then ran down from the car.
Hey, I'm not gonna hurt you.
I have to go make sure Mel's okay.
I'm real sorry, but you need to come with me.
Alicia and the others could only watch helplessly as they left. The Vultures team was thus destroyed by them, but Alicia found no joy in it. In her heart, Naomi had become a traitor. The nearby supplies had already been looted by the Vultures, and the only place with medicine was the baseball stadium. Just then, Alicia saw a figure, none other than the miraculously surviving Melvin. Alicia asked Melvin, "How long has Naomi been with you? Did she collude with you even before the base was destroyed?" Melvin's incapable of speaking at this point.
How long? It doesn't matter.
Alicia, Victor, Luciana wiped out the Vultures team. However, Naomi and Charlie were taken away by Morgan. Victor speculated that, in order to save John, they would surely risk going to the baseball stadium to find medication. As expected, Althea drove them to the baseball stadium, which appeared eerily quiet. Naomi explained that all the surrounding supplies had been looted by the Vultures, and this was the only place they dared not enter. Althea is terrified. John was in danger and had to go in. Only when the fog cleared did they understand why even the Vultures avoided this place. Countless charred zombies were battering an armored vehicle, and in the distance, tens of thousands of zombies were approaching. It was truly horrifying. At Naomi's request, the vehicle reached the entrance of the medical room. As John's condition was critical, Althea had to use her secret weapon to quickly clear a path. Morgan and Naomi took the opportunity to run into the infirmary. Charlie with the camera soon realizes that Alicia and the others are here too, and it seems that they are very keen to kill Naomi and Charlie. Morgan and Naomi are also trying to kill the zombies in the corridor. At this moment, John felt his life slipping away and faced the camera to leave his final words. Naomi, anxious, hastily packed medical supplies. Althea could only keep talking to John to keep him conscious. Suddenly, the vehicle shook violently. Luciana had fired a rocket at them.
Nice try, bitch. You're up against ballistic steel armor, stitch welded plates, shielding layer on shielding layer. This thing's built like a tank in a bank vault.
The armored car door fell off just as Althea finished speaking. Alicia held the barrel of her gun to Charlie's neck with her left hand and threatened Althea with her right, telling her to tell Naomi to come out. Charlie, terrified, cried incessantly, regretting her actions. Althea, knowing Alicia was filled with hatred and capable of anything, reluctantly picked up the radio to convey the message. Victor and Luciana outside aimed at the entrance, ready to strike if Naomi appeared. After talking to Morgan, Althea puts the walkie-talkie on the floor and glances at John. Then, she engaged Alicia in conversation, diverting her attention. John, understanding the situation, turned on the radio. Morgan, in the corridor, heard the radio conversation and knew there was an ambush outside. Victor, realizing Naomi had not appeared, contacted Alicia. Alicia looked down at the radio and, seizing the opportunity, Charlie and Althea resisted, engaging in a struggle. Soon, Alicia overpowered Althea, pinning her to the seat. Countless zombies reached out to grab Althea. The scene was horrifying, but Althea managed to break free, throwing Alicia heavily against the iron door. At this point, neither could overpower the other. While Alicia was catching her breath, she noticed scattered snacks. Alicia went berserk, realizing these were the same snacks her mother once gave them. Althea explained that she exchanged those snacks in an interview with that woman. Alicia seems to have thought of something and frantically searches for Althea's tapes, finally finding the one that belonged to her mother. Madison, after the dam's destruction, had searched frantically for Alicia and Nick. Alicia and Althea had crossed paths, and Madison had shared her story with Althea. However, Madison never mentioned Alicia and Nick's names. Alicia looked at her mother in the camera for a long time and couldn't speak. Althea, too, felt a wave of sadness. The children the woman was looking for were right in front of her eyes, and the base she'd built was now in this state. Alicia also calmed down. She went to the tunnel and raised her gun. In her eyes, Naomi must have opened the gate when the stadium was surrounded by zombies and compelled the others to give up their resistance and run away. And eventually she joined the vultures. Naomi was also indirectly responsible for her mother's death. Morgan wouldn't stand by and let Naomi be killed.
Let me save John.
You can do whatever you want for that. No, you don't get to save him. You don't get anything.
This is not who you are.
Get out of my way. You die for her.
From people, from everything and everybody. Because I thought I had to.
You can't.
They have.
can't.
They have. I'm not dead. I will not step aside for you. Whatever your mother wanted for you, it is still in you.
At the moment, Alicia has also been successfully convinced by Morgan that she's been pretending to be strong enough for a while now. And finally, John was rescued. The two teams sit down in the countryside and talk to the camera about their encounter at the ballpark. Naomi explains that she never compelled the others, but rather persuaded them to stay and resist, and that in the end she was forced to run away by the zombies, and she thought they were all dead.
I thought you died. When they found me by the side of the road, I didn't think there was anywhere else to go.
Misunderstandings are finally resolved, and they sit down to a potluck dinner. Charlie kills Nick and they can't live with her anymore.